Let's cut right to the chase. Creative people are pretty nuts, and I know this because I'm one of them. If you're like me, you wonder, how do people get over the issues we face? That's what this show is all about. Think of each episode as a warm bath for the soul. We're all in this together, so let's do something good with the time we have left. This show is my love letter to the human condition. This, my friends, is Sentimental Illness.
I've found over the years that musicians tend to be asked the same questions over and over again, right? What are your influences? Where were you born? And I mean, look, I do that as well because I want to know. And even if it's on Wikipedia or all over social media, it doesn't change the fact that a new audience member, a new listener, somebody interested in your band kind of wants to know the bare bones minimum of where you started and where you came up, right? You know, if I asked you to tell me the point in your life you knew you were going to become a musician or that being in a band was the next logical step for you, what would you say? Where was the beginning for you?
Oh, man, for me, it was definitely in middle school when I first started playing guitar.
Wow.
I was actually a big Blink-182 fan and back in the day. And I just loved, I got into them and started getting into other punk, pop bands and then punk rock bands. I got into heavier and heavier music, slowly from there. But once I started playing the guitar, I don't know, though, I just always knew I wanted to be a musician. My music was my biggest passion aside from animals and video games. I just loved playing in a band always. And since then I've always been in bands, always. I just love it so much. Is that there's no other feeling like it, than being in a band, being on stage and it's so much fun.
Yeah. And Eddie, how about you, buddy?
So I'm sorry, you asked when I wanted to be a musician or a band?
Yeah, well, either one. Just really, was there a mark? What is the word I'm looking for? A demarcation. Was there a mark in your life? Something that was a very clear, here's the next step for me. Here's the direction I want to go.
Sure. Yeah. So when I was in elementary school, my mom told me that I had to take music in school. She said, I don't care if you stick with it or not, you have to at least learn how to read music. And I was 9 years old. I didn't understand why she wanted me to do that. But yeah. I told her, okay, fine. And my sister said, oh, just pick the flute. It only has 3 buttons. It's easy. So I was like, all right, cool. And I get the flute and there's 20 something buttons on it. And I'm like, I thought this was easy. And she's like, I didn't say that. I said the trumpet. I'm like, are you sure? So I ended up playing flute in the beginning. And once I hit middle school, I got into drums because at that I was at my cousin's house and she had a drum set in her basement. And I always thought it was cool. I never played it. I just sat behind it. And it's funny you asked this because I tell this story quite a bit. I sat on that drum throne and I just looked at the set and this overwhelming sense of command that I felt I had, even though I had no idea about anything about the drums. It was just this command over the drum set. It immediately just made sense. I was like, whoa, okay. And I didn't even hit anything. So fast forward, and I'm hanging out with my friend Scott, who has now passed away, somebody from high school. And he had a drum set at his house and he was really good. He was playing Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I'm 11 years old and I'm like, wow, you're amazing. Can I try? And again, I had no idea what I was doing. I just picked up the drumsticks and I just started hitting the snare drum as fast as I could. And the feeling of that, I remember his mom called my mom and was like, oh, your son is so good. I had no idea what I was doing. I just sounded fast.
Yeah.
But watching him play and me hitting the snare drum at his house on the drum set, immediately I was like, okay, I have to get a drum set for Christmas. That was the moment for me. And my parents bought me this really shitty set. It was a $300 set. Sorry, can I use language?
Yeah, rock and roll, brother.
Okay. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. So they bought me this $300 Revere set. And, I was just grateful that they got me something, of course. And I have a photo of me the day I got it, and the smile on my face to this day. It's somewhere on my refrigerator or something like that. You could just tell that I knew immediately that was for me. And then it just took off from there.
Right on. Well, I'm a drummer myself, and I'm not going to compare myself to you. Of course, you're incredibly talented, but I would say this, that what I love about what you both said is that there was a very clear moment that you recognized this was for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love that, because really what it means to me, musicians are often accused of being crazy people. I say it all the time, because we are. There's a madness to us because it's been downloaded into us from birth. It's part of our DNA. And I love the discovery moment of realizing, oh my God, I've found my purpose. You know what I mean? It's not a hobby for people like us. And it sounds to me like you both very clearly knew. And it's honestly, it's probably what draws me so much to your band, because there's a very clear performance capability there, right? You guys have great chops, great songwriting skills. You understand the genre very well. But there's this super cool hidden piece, the intangible that you recognize, whether it's Tanya's face and smile, right? Or the intensity or the commitment of the drums or commitment of the guitars. You feel it, and you know you want to be in this band's circle. Does that make any sense?
Cool. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I know you've heard it a million times, and I do actually want to touch on it because I want to get it out of the way. I have always tired of comparisons in the music business. The idea of somebody saying, who do you sound like, right? Because what happens is people like, well, okay, not people like us, but listeners, they discover our music, whoever it is, and they say, oh man, guys, I heard this great band, Monochromatic Black, today. They sound like X, right? And they make automatic assumptions based on the fact that Tanya's a woman,
Yes.
or that you guys, right? Or you guys are, a specific genre, or in your case, subgenre, right? You have to worry about, are they going to layer you into the metalcore thing? Are they going to layer you into the a hardcore thing? Are you a deathcore thing, right? And that has always kind of driven me nuts. But if I had to ask you, just for the ease of our audience, would you just classify it as progressive deathcore? What would you say?
Yeah, progressive deathcore, death metal, right, Ed?
I like Rob saying, it's so tough. I mean, I guess so. I mean, across our 3 records, there's a shift in sound too, because like deathcore bands don't sing, and our first 2 records have a lot of that. The third album, well, not that they don't sing, they're singing, but like not as prominent as they are on our first 2 records, typically speaking.
Right.
And in the way that Tanya does it. So I guess progressive deathcore is the most accurate. I'm
sorry. I'm sorry for even asking,
No, because the music is technical, like you said too.
Yeah.
And we're definitely a metal band, right?
For
sure. That's for sure. I don't know. I guess so, man. I don't know. It's a tough one. I really don't know what to say. I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I get you. No, and I apologize because I know we have limited time, so I don't want to waste your time.
No, you're good.
But I, as a musician myself, the first thing I really noticed in what you do is the progressive element. Now hear me out. For me, the word progressive means something different than it maybe does to you. Maybe it's a better way to put it. Is the idea that the band is always looking for the next direction. There's a constant evolution of what the band is doing as a unit, and what each individual is doing, that they're growing, that they're not just like in your case, Eddie, is you're not playing 64th notes for the sake of playing 64th notes, that there's an evolution in the discovery of yourself as a musician, that you become more focused on playing for the song versus look what I can do.
Yeah.
I feel like you like pinpointed that perfectly for how Eddie feels. Literally. Yeah.
That's
you worded that perfectly.
Cool.
Yeah, no, dude,
I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
It's what I do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, of course, and yeah, man, the way you're posing all the questions are excellent, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Seriously.
What I was gonna say, you're kind of nailing it on the head. I guess this band, at its heart, the progressive. Well, people associate prog bands with like being musical.
Right.
If you know what I'm trying to say.
I do. Like Rush. There's a lot of melody.
There's the term like thinking person's metal. I mean, whatever you want to feel about that, but
right.
At the heart of what we do, the music and the art is what backs the entire thing. And then the other stuff, like, some of the breakdowns, like, yes, they are musical, but there is an air to them in the live show that maybe the focus isn't so much on the music as it is the aggression. I mean, it's still part of the music. It's really hard to explain, but no, this band is made up of very musical people first and foremost. I don't want to say all the other stuff comes second for us as a whole. For me, it certainly does. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing, man. This is a tough one. It's a tough one to talk about because we thought about this too. What do you call us? What is this and that? Like, the art absolutely is paramount. That comes first. That is the priority of the band.
Right.
And, I don't want to make that sound like we're pretentious or anything, because that is not the goal here at all. So
yeah,
I know my answer kind of sucks, but yeah,
I don't think so, Eddie. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
No. Look, well, I'll get to you in a second, Tanya, but I do want to say something. What? Over the years, I have listened to a lot of this type of music. This, what I would call the style that you play within. However we categorize it, it is what it is. But I think of bands like Sunfall from UK, or I think of or Monasteries. Both bands don't exist anymore, and those are two bands that, to me, took sort of the best elements of the death space as well as the progressive space, and it was also melodic, and it was very aggressive, and there was a focus on the entirety of the song. It wasn't just about the drop. It wasn't just about the front person's ability to scream in a certain pitch or a look. It was the whole cohesive thing. And I think what makes you guys fascinating, I mean, and again, I'm probably spitballing here too, but what makes you fascinating to me is that you seem to be a collective of the best elements of the space. And what I like is, 3 records in, you are really discovering the better parts of yourselves. You know what I mean? Because, like, take Jinjer, for example, right? You go back 15 years, 2009, 2010, when they started kind of doing their thing, they were, for all intents and purposes, they were a groove metal band. And it wasn't until the band went through a number of different cycles, a few different records, certain key people leaving, and the band turning into this sort of progressive juggernaut that they've become. And I like the early stages of the band, but I love the modern version of the band. And to me, Monochromatic Black is doing the same thing. I don't want to compare you two because you're not anything alike except the fact that you have women fronting the band, but you guys have a very clear evolution. I know I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but I just think it's really badass and it's very catchy to me.
Thanks so much, man. Yeah, I mean, I have to agree when you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you're saying we're playing into the better parts of what we do as time goes on.
Yeah, you're playing into your strengths. It's, you guys know who you are now. It takes a while.
It does. It does. And I want to touch on what you said too. Songwriting, composition, creating a record, that stuff we put a very, very, very serious focus on that.
Yeah.
We don't care. It's not just about the drop or it's about the experience listening from front to back of an entire record or an entire song or whatever it is, like we pay a lot of attention to all of those craft elements. Like I said, like I was saying earlier, it's the art of it. We don't want to every note matters, every song matters. Like I don't feel comfortable putting out a song that I don't think is the best that we could have done collectively. And I'll go as far as to throw the whole thing out if we have to. It's just which we've done before. We've tossed songs. There's songs that are sitting in my vault that I'm sure a ton of the fans would think it's great, but were like, nah, this shit sucks. We don't want it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely understand. I'll tell you just a quick little story. I do recall very much in the last band I was in a number of years ago, being very excited to get out and play a live show. I wanted everybody to see what we were doing. I was very confident in what we were doing. We had rehearsed a ton. We sounded great. But, 10 years later, you look back at it and you're like, why did we think that was ready to go?
That's a fact.
Yeah. And I think that's the reality of everything. I mean, I do voice work for a living. And yesterday I recorded an audition for a very large company. And I listened to it this morning and I thought, oh my God, I sent that shit. Like I can't believe I sent that. And yet they responded with, we love it. So, you just never know, but it's amazing how much a moment can completely knock you out of recognizing what you've created as valid.
Absolutely. 100%. And you're always going to grow.
Yeah.
Always going to grow. Like you're saying, like at the time you might've thought that sounded good to you. Yeah. All I can say is that if you're going to submit something to the world and you already don't feel good about it, that's not a good sign. I think you're allowed to look back later on and say, hey, that was what it was and I'm much better now. That's fine. But if you don't stand behind what you're doing, that's not good. Or if you're just doing stuff because you strictly think that other people will like it and you don't really care about it, I don't know. To me, I when I listen to music, I want to know that the musicians I'm listening to are putting out into the world what they believe in.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. It's just how I feel.
Yeah. So. No, that's fair. Okay, Tanya, this is a 2-part question for you.
Sure.
Okay, so I kind of touched on it earlier, but I imagine it has to be tremendously difficult to be a front person in any band, let alone a woman, let alone an attractive woman. Now, these aren't meant to be creepy questions, but I know you deal with it all the time. And I was talking with my wife about this last night. I was like, I'm interviewing this band tomorrow and they have a woman, a front person. And I imagine that has to be very strange because nobody says, did you see that guy? Wow, what a good looking. I mean, nobody does that. No, I mean, ever. Nobody does that. Nobody talks about how handsome. I don't know. Maybe the guy from INXS. But nobody talks about the looks of a front person ever, unless it's a woman. It's a very strange thing. And so I'm curious, one, as a vocalist, how hard has it been to modify your voice over the years? Because like you said, you started back in the earlier years, you're singing more, there's less growl, to the point that you've evolved now to this very aggressive. And again, it's still super enjoyable. It's a lot of fun, but it's really, the band has met its match in your voice, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But then there's the other side of it too, which is this assumptive sexuality side that if the front woman is there, you're really just selling Tanya's looks. You know what I mean? So I guess what I'm curious is, what's your experience like being a band that's evolved, and how do you deal with audiences that can't see past what you look like?
I mean, the thing is that you kind of just you can't really force people to look past certain things. Like I would love for people to not say female fronted, which a lot of like I'm friends with Cheney and Entheos. Like I have a lot of female friends that are in bands, and it would be awesome if everyone didn't categorize chicks as like a female fronted band, or like kind of pit against like, oh, which is the best female fronted band.
Right.
Like, I can't stand that, because it's like every band sounds different. We all are doing our own thing. Like all these different bands have different styles and vocal styles and, whatever, different genres. But I've kind of just accepted it, and you can't really knock the fans for feeling that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping maybe one day like people will grow out of that because there are a lot more female fronted bands now, and female musicians in general, metal bands. So I feel like eventually we might get past it. But in the meantime, it is what it is. And if that's how people find the music, then that's cool. And if that's, what they are into and they like bands that just have chicks in it, I mean, cool, awesome, but I would hope that they would eventually like want to branch out and like, I just hope that they're really into it though for the music more than just the fact that like there's a girl in it. Like that's not the main thing. I hope they really do cherish the music, but
yeah,
I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but yeah, it's like
it's your answer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, I love it. Like I said, I mean, I could keep saying I love it and everybody would just roll their eyes. It doesn't really matter. But so you guys are coming up on an early year tour, correct?
Yeah. We're actually my beanie, I'm wearing it. We're opening for the first week of the 156 Silence and Victims co-headlining tour with heavy hitters on it as well. It's in January. It's going to be awesome. I'm like so excited. It's going to be really, really cool. I love being on tour. It's like my favorite part of being in a band is playing shows. So
nice. So that is solely an East Coast run?
So each week they have a different band opening. So we're doing the first week, which starts in, I think, Michigan, right, Ed?
Wow.
I believe it starts Michigan's the first state.
Yeah, I got to double check it.
Yeah, Michigan, and then we're going across to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, then like Brooklyn, upstate New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut. So I think those are the states that we're hitting. So, and then like the next week they're going down the East Coast, and that's another different band that's opening and et cetera going around. So, but
right. Have you been out here? Have you been out here yet to the West Coast?
So I think the farthest west we went was Nevada.
I was gonna say Denver, maybe.
No, I wish. So we actually had a West Coast tour. It was a couple years ago that I actually booked by myself, and our van broke down right before Arizona, I think it was. So unfortunately, we didn't get to go there. But actually, we can't announce it right now. But we do have a full U.S. run in the summertime, 5-week tour. So we're gonna hit everything, for that one.
Okay. So I know you can't announce it, but can you say you're coming near Seattle?
I would assume so, right? I mean, it's a full week.
Yeah, we don't have the exact dates,
but
but if it's going to be that long, I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I would like to meet you guys in person. I think that'd be
likewise.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah. I'll actually wear the stupid sushi shirt so you can.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, well, again, my wife's Japanese. What can you say?
Very cool.
I'm a silly boy. Well, okay. So what's the hardest part of touring life? It's interesting too, because in my sort of moderate prep for interviewing you guys today, I did watch the Bus Invaders.
Oh, cool.
And of course, most people don't understand that, the typical band gets around in a van. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of money in touring. It usually costs band a ton of money because you're buying fan bases. You're getting out there and you're promoting, and that's where you're putting your money. But what's that part like for you? Is it super enjoyable? Is it frustrating after a while? Because I can't imagine, I shouldn't say I can't imagine because I did it myself, but I never liked the idea of not being able to take a shower at least like twice a day. I'm such a spaz. So how do you guys manage tour life?
I complain the least, I'm proud to say. I can sleep anywhere. I'm the smallest one. I'll sleep on the floor. I'll sleep wherever. I love being on tour, dude. Like I love like the aspect of like, we're just roughing it. I mean, I do have to take a shower though. That does drive me crazy. But I mean, I have a Planet Fitness membership, so we usually do that. But I love it, dude. I love it being like kind of rough and, I don't know. I think it's fun. It's a blast. And we get to explore so many places. To me, it's all worth it. Trying to find a place to park or a place to sleep or whatever. I don't know. It's so worth it for all the different places you get to explore and the people you get to meet and stuff, It's
an adventure.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cause this is like a once in a lifetime thing. Not everybody gets to do this,
No.
So
But
true. But I'm the smallest. So I usually sleep wherever to make it more comfortable for the rest of the guys. Cause Eddie and Pierce are they're like over 6 feet, right? 6'2", 6'4".
Who, Oliver? I'm not.
No, Oliver and Pierce are like 6'2".
Yeah.
They're really tall.
Yeah, that's gotta be rough. I imagine you probably have it tiered out where people are laying on top of gear.
Yeah, well, I lay in the gear sometimes or the floor, but we have like the rows for them. And Eddie, I mean, how do you feel about every touring and stuff?
I mean, I drive the most, so I end up sleeping in the driver's seat.
Yeah, nice.
Which is fine for me. Like whatever.
Right. You put it in cruise control and just lay your eyes back.
No, that I don't do. I will say this though, man. If if the self-driving car thing really takes off.
Oh my God.
To not have to deal with that, man. No, because the hardest part about tour, to answer your question, I could deal with, making do with not having a stove at all times. And, I don't really sweat a lot on tour. So like I could wash up in the gas station bathrooms or whatever, and I'm pretty much straight. The hardest thing is when you leave a venue and it's 1 a.m. and you have to be at the next venue by 12 and you have to drive through the night for 8 hours. That's the hardest part. And around that 3 o'clock in the morning time is where you start really like doing this.
Yeah.
On the road. And that's not safe.
No.
And so you got to pull over and you try to sleep for like 2 hours so that you can get up and at least get to the venue when you can. And then you try to sleep before load in. Finding time to sleep would be my answer to your question. That shit sucks.
Yeah.
But everything else, though, I mean, I could make do with, whatever. I'll buy fruit at a gas station or power bars or whatever. I mean, it's not the help. Yeah. I'll try to do the best I can, but it's the sleep thing. That's what sucks.
Yeah, and being a drummer too, so much gear, but I think we're used to it. So there's not to say that we have a stronger work ethic than anybody else in the band, but I think we're just used to the torture of it.
That's what it. Okay, yes. So the reason why lack of sleep is such a tough thing is because, from the moment you get there, you're lugging all of your gear out.
Yep.
I'm in the corner. There's like a meme online. Tanya knows what I'm talking about. Where it shows like the whole band drinking and partying, and you're in the back like twiddling like screws. And like that is literally what it is. From the moment I get there, I'm playing around with screws, and then when I'm done setting up, it's I run over to the merch desk to make sure everything's cool. I have just enough time to eat something, and then we're on stage. And then when we're off stage, you're twiddling screws again, and by the time you're all packed up, everybody's good to scramble. So like, you're constantly moving and lifting, and you don't, as a drummer, unfortunately, you don't get to hang out as much as the rest of the band. It just is what it is, and it does suck. And again, I'm not saying that everybody else's jobs are easy or anything, but they're definitely quicker. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, Tanya has a microphone, and Pearson.
Listen, for the record, I actually help bring in gear. I use the rollers.
Nice. Yes. No, I'm not throwing jab.
Yeah.
I always help, dude. I've broken many nails, dude.
All right. No. Tanya, I never said she doesn't help. Of course she helps.
No, I know. I'm only teasing. Sorry, my camera's blurry.
No. Tanya, everybody helps, but it's just as a drummer, like you're saying, it's a different level. I'm sorry. It just is.
It is. It isn't what people don't understand when you've got a 4-5 act bill and you're, say, third, you're right in the middle of the bill. There's nothing more frustrating than having to move your gear out because it hasn't been backlined, and they're bringing out the cymbals. They're bringing out the cymbal stands, but they're bringing them out in pieces. So, they've got a bass. One guy's got a bass. The other person's got the top with the cymbals in it. And maybe the wing nut isn't all the way down.
Dude, no.
So they drop it in, and then you go up to spin the wing nut. It falls off, and it goes underneath the kick drum, and you have to move the kick drum, which means you have to move the mic that the sound man just put in place, and then everybody's pissed and everybody's stressed, and your mouth gets dry.
Yeah, it sucks. It's fun. So I have a very streamlined drum set. It's literally a 4-piece, and I have 2 cymbal stands. I have one that Tanya will tell you she hates because it's a pain in the ass. I hate it too. It's on my right.
It's just super heavy and awkward to carry. It's actually kind of dangerous, to be honest. It's very I
know it sucks. So while we're on,
it makes your kit smaller. So
while we're on this topic, what I do, which Rob, you might think is crazy, I actually use a pipe cutter and I cut my boom stands to bring the weight down.
Wow.
So let's say the boom is this long and I only need it to be this long. I'll actually cut it and then just put it in. So in my hardware bag, it actually takes weight off at the end of the day. And I try to make it as quick as I can. I've even thought about going to a smaller drum set for this exact reason too. It's just out of control.
But Eddie's he's downsized his drums though. I mean, when we first started the band, you used to literally have 2 double bass drums. Like Eddie's kit is super small now compared to when we first started. So you did a pretty good job with that though, Ed.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're forced to because I mean, you can't afford roadies. Nobody's going to set up all that gear for you. And carrying around big, like 24 by 18 inch kick drums, it's not going to work for a van. So it doesn't matter. You guys, you have to do what you do. And I'm happy that you do it.
Cool, man.
Let me ask you one final question again to get you out of here quickly. When it comes down to it, again, I believe DNA. I believe the power of creation. I believe you're made to do this. Both of you are clearly made to do this. I'm glad you've met up and you discovered each other and you're creating great music together. And obviously the other two guys as well. So say hello to them for me. All that being said, when you think about your life, you're both very young, but when you look back at that first moment where you realize, oh my God, this is my destiny. This is my journey. Is there any part in there that feels like you've missed something else that maybe someday, if you hang up your spurs and you decide you're not going to do music in this way anymore, maybe step into production or maybe step into some sort of other creative endeavor, or I don't know, work for a restaurant. Is there a goal or is there a desire to do something else with your life besides music?
I know for me, but do you want to go first, Ed?
I mean, both Tanya and I have a bunch of interests in life, but you can go first, Tanya, if you want.
For me, I want to open up my own animal sanctuary for sure, and
right on.
And I kind of want to help start doing that at some point, through the band, because I work with a lot of rescue groups, and I'm sponsored by Cats and Metal, which helps rescue groups, Humane Long Island, an animal rights group out here, but I want to help animals as much as possible because it's one of my biggest passions in life. My cat's right next to me, but yeah. So whenever I'm done with the band stuff, I absolutely want to open up a sanctuary and do programs with kids and teach them how important empathy is for other living things and stuff like that. 100% for sure. Right and then just streaming more video games because I'm a nerd. So
that's good. Yeah. I like nerds. Nerds are cool. Sweet. How about you, Eddie?
Yeah. So to Tanya's point, the band, Tanya, I'm not sure if I heard you saying when you were done with the band stuff, you don't have to be done with anything to do something else. Well,
no, he was asking if we were to hang up and stop the music. Oh. That's why. Yeah.
Okay. Cause I was going to say for me, the music has always been number one.
Yeah.
And, you were asking, am I putting other things on hold, I guess?
Well, I mean, so, okay, I'm going to inject myself into your story for just a second. Can I do that? Would that be okay?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I started playing drums when I was 4, and all I ever wanted was to be a famous kid, famous drummer. I mean, I was born in 1966. I'm an old guy. And in that era, rock and roll was still really young. So there was this sort of expectation that if you had any talent, that you were going to stand out like a sore thumb and you were going to sort of find your way into the business. And I was doing that, but I created my own hiccup, a 7-year hiccup by joining the military.
Oh, wow.
And it completely messed up my entire future. And now granted, I could say I made those choices and it's true, but I derailed I can't even think of the word at the moment, but I derailed myself from stepping into that person that I thought I was meant to be. And I never fully recovered because when I got out, I moved back to the Seattle area right when the grunge thing was dying down. So I had missed that window. I wasn't in the right place at the right time. And for many years, I did a quote unquote a normal job. I worked for an insurance company. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago, I mean, we're talking, I was 56 years old. I decided, hey, why don't I do something else creative and get into the voiceover space? So yeah, I've found my purpose and I'm good at it and I'm enjoying it and I'm making a living at it, but it's not being a rock drummer traveling the world doing something I was exceptional at. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. So what's the question? Has anything derailed me?
Well, no, it's really just if you had to quit, what would you do with yourself?
I see. Well,
because you seem intense about it. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, I don't think it's even possible for me to leave the art space at this point.
I get.
Well, Eddie, also, you work in music. You've always worked in music. You've always music is literally every aspect of your hobbies.
I sacrificed everything in life to do music. So I am also a photographer. I do video work, but I do it adjacent to music. I don't do video for like commercials about vacuums or whatever. Like I do music videos. I take photos of artists, bands, stuff like that. Like I'm so immersed in this metal thing.
Yeah.
And it's been that way since I was 11, and I'm 34 today. So that's a long 23 years or whatever it's been. So
yeah.
So what would I do? I would be doing something else in the music industry, metal adjacent, most likely. And I can't see myself. I've been doing this for I'm not just because I've been doing it for so long. There's a reason I'm doing it for so long. I don't think there's anything else I like more than being in this world. When records come out, that is a huge thing for me. I'm a big record person, and so yeah, this is too much fun and too much excitement for me, and it's a great social thing for me too. I love going to shows, so I'm probably going to be well into my older age doing the same thing, to be honest. So some people are like that. Some people change every few years. I don't know. I knew what I wanted to do my whole life. So it is what it is.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. It's perfect. It's a great way to cap this. Look, I am so happy you guys peeled away a little bit of time from me, especially with the holidays coming up and everything else.
Yeah, of course.
I know you're busy. I know you've got so much going on. Is there anything you want to share with the audience before you take off?
Well, we're stoked because we got new merch coming for the tour. So excited for everybody to see that. Yeah, we got the tour with 156 Silence, Victims, and Heavy Hitter, and then we're gonna have new music too. We're gonna have like a new music video, a new single out in January. So nice. I can't wait for everybody to hear the new music. Yeah. What about you, Ed?
Yeah, same. And obviously, thanks to everybody who's interested in what we do. It's awesome.
Yeah, and thanks for interviewing us, dude. Yeah, and I love that you're in voice work, by the way, dude. I think everything happens for a reason. So I think it's awesome that you're doing what you're doing.
Oh,
yeah, for the record, I just want to point that out.
Yeah, if you want a cute cat voice, I got it all day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, to that point, it is never ever too late to start.
You've been listening to Sentimental Illness with Rob Leland. Our theme song, Machine, has been graciously provided by Harris Heller. Don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast media. You can directly support the show on Patreon as well, where you can find us at patreon.com/This is Sentimental Illness. It also helps us a lot if you rate the show online, so jump out there and give us 5 stars. And lastly, always remember, your mind will overthink everything, but your heart can never love enough. See you soon.